In this episode, we're going to be solving a problem where his greaves are riding down on the top of his foot, and we're going to try to make a way that these are going to be held in place by the leg harness. To do that, we're going to install a pin in the front of the greave and a staple in the top of the back. The pin will get lined up with a hole we'll put in the demi-greave, and the strap in the back will go through the staple we'll install, and when that's cinched down, we'll lock everything in place, holding it firmly together. Now, to do this, we need to get the greave on him and have him place that where he wants it to be. Go ahead and put that in where it's going to be comfortable for you. Ideally, in a greave, you'd like to have a nice flare on the bottom here, or have this rolled up so there's not a sharp edge that's digging into the top of the foot. These are tempered and finished. It's too late to add that. What we're going to want to do is make sure that you can raise your foot up so you get the foot movement you need. This is going to be a good location. Now, put your foot back down. We're going to need to look at this and see how these two marry up. In this position, we know this is where the knee needs to end up. If I go ahead and mark this, we're going to be able to see underneath that how much room we have to put in the pin. Ideally, I'd have a hole somewhere in this location for that pin to come through. But we'll be able to make the measurements once this is done. Now, double checking in the back, the strap for this demi-greave, when it comes around, there is enough room. It's perfect position right now. When you put a staple at the top of that greave, it'll hold it in place firmly and lock this in place. That will be a really nice fix. So when the leg is straight, this is the distance that we have that we could be putting the pin through the greave and through the demi-greave. This is about the location we want it to be, but just to see what I have to play with, we have this much distance between the bottom of the demi-greave and that lame. That's going to be represented by right here. So this is basically where that lame is, just as an aside. So it seems like there's also extra metal here that we might be able to trim and cut away later. We'll worry about that when we're done here. Tim had mentioned that he might want to have this riding up a little bit higher for comfort. So if this was the mark that we were doing originally, we might go ahead and just lower it a little bit in here. So if we were to go up roughly about this looks like if we were to do about 1.25 inches up in here, 1.25 inches, is still going to have plenty of distance between the bottom of the other lame. Now, on that demi-greave, we could also have, sometimes they have a series of holes. They'll have 2 or 3 holes where you can adjust this up or down depending on what you need. Right now, I prefer to just do one. Okay. We're going to get the other greave, and we're going to do the same measurement on there, down. So from the center down. Now, to double check this in a second, I'm also going to measure from the bottom of the greave up, just to make sure that we're talking the same distance here. So there's about 10.5 inches there. Oh, look at that. We're at 9.5 inches here. So something is definitely off with these. We might have to put this on him directly to make sure. So 9.5 question mark. That is where it would be if we just measure up from the bottom. What is going on here? So there's a big discrepancy in the greaves as far as the overall length. It's going to be impossible to get specific measurements to make them even on both sides. So I'm going to swap what we're doing. We're going to punch the holes in the demi-greave first. Then we'll have them put on the greave and we'll mark where that hole sits. I've set the stop in the punch. So as I punch it now, they will both be the same distance up. I can look down there and make sure it's centered. So that was a lot of fun. When you have tempered legs and you have a rounded surface, when you punch the hole, they compress around the punch itself and you can't open it and get it unstuck. You have to physically turn it over, push these apart in order to loosen up enough to take this out. Fortunately, Galen just assisted with that a moment ago. I'll punch this one, and then we'll have to do the same thing all over again. So I've taken some round head rivets that are the same diameter as the hole we punched. Now, these are too tight right now for it to go through. I can drill this hole, enlarge it, and slide this in, and then when I spall this down and hit it, it'll mushroom out and tighten up around the hole. But it occurs to me that if we don't enlarge the hole, instead we do the exact thing we had to do before, opening this up and making that straight, and then force this to go in there, it's going to be an even tighter fit. So we're going to do that now, and they'll come back when I'm done. That works really well, except the posts are supposed to be in the greave. So we need to undo that or make sure this never sees the light of day in the video. So the legs themselves seem a little tight, and Tim was asking about it. So we're just going to go ahead and check to see how big his thigh is. Go ahead, I want you to bend this leg so that makes this muscle wider here. This is the widest it's going to have to be when you're fighting. Rotate this a little bit. There we go. Okay, so if the leg harness is this big, we're good to go. This is as small as it can go. This is the width of his thigh with the padding. So I'm now going to use an internal caliper. So if the legs are at least this big on the inside, it should be fine. Or it's as tight as we want it to go. Looking at this, that is, yeah, it looks like you should have plenty of room inside of this leg harness. So it might just be a matter of how the legs are suspended off of that pour point. So this is the diameter that the posts are going to be, which we punched with that 1/4 inch punch. But when we have the posts come through from the greave, we need to make sure that this outside hole is a smooth, comfortable fit. Especially when we hit that post and we spall it and expand it out a bit, it's going to need to be bigger. So I'm just going to go ahead and start by expanding this hole slightly. I'm going to put it in there. And we'll see if that's enough to get started. Okay, we need to go 2 new pins. Okay, I want you to lift your foot up. Okay, so let's stop. I'm going to raise this up a little bit. Is this a good spot? Raise it up. Is that a good spot for you? Better. Okay, put your foot down. Okay, so this in here. And your legs are in the right place?
Now there.
Okay. We're just going to do this one leg, make sure it works fine, and then we will go ahead and do the other leg. So we have the post sticking out of here now into the staple. So I'm just going to come straight on the back here. I'm doing the line where we want that staple to be, right in the middle of the back. Now his legs fit tightly enough that this never really overlaps on the side. So we just want to have the staple directly across. What I'm going to do is I'm going to punch 2 holes, and we're going to use this stainless steel welding rod to make the staple here. I'm going to punch a hole about 5/8 inch. I don't want to do holes too close to the edge of the metal because it's likely to break. Now the straps are this wide. I want to make sure that we have plenty of room in the staple to pass that through easily. So we're going to have one hole here and one hole there. Use the Sharpie to erase the Sharpie. And then we have a clean mark where we want it to go. Now, when I have bits for my Whitney punches that start degrading a little bit, they don't do good holes, I save those and I use them when I'm punching tempered metal, because tempered metal and stainless are just going to destroy these things anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and punch the holes. I'm going to punch up as high as I can. Close to where I wanted. And this metal is the right size for that. So what we are going to do, I need something that's, get rid of this flat section from the welding rod. Try that again. So this is how wide this is going to be. We're going to have it stand up about this high on both sides, and then I'm going to have some length on the inside that we're going to use to fold over and secure it. So when I cut off this much here and there, cut a second one for the other greave, and then we're good. So where that one mark is, I'm just going to bend this over. Okay. Perfect. That worked out well. Somewhere we had staple. Again, I put this in. Notice how it doesn't slide in easily. I can tap it down, get it to where I want it to sit. The strap fits in there without a lot of extra room. So that'll be a fairly good fit. Now I'm going to put this into the vise. So the case sleeve is sitting right at the edge. Now the staple's nice and tight. Now these ends are a little bit longer than I'd like them to be. So I'm going to clip this off. Hammer them down. That's why we call it a staple. Okay. So we've got that in. Looks good. Nice and solid. Now we need to find the front. We've got this marked. I'm going to center punch it from the outside enough so I can figure out where that is and then go from the inside, because it's going to be very difficult to drill this hole from the outside. That's going to have enough of a dimple that I can then go on the inside and I'll mark it. Now I'll take it over to the drill press. So I never recommend drilling the hardened steel with a brand new drill bit unless it's one of the specialty bits that's designed to go through it. Just use an old bit and it's going to sound terrible. You can use some oil or something in there to help, if you want. Usually these bits are the end of their life. I'm not even going to worry about it. Just going to take it easy and apply pressure. Okay. Now, just double check that it's a little bit small. Is it still running? If it's too tight and you try to force this in there, you're likely to crack the metal. So you need a nice snug fit, but not overly snug. Before I have a problem, can you hand me the gauge? And I just want to make sure that this is... Yep. Okay. So that's what we needed. Put this guy in there. Nice and snug on there. We got the strap ready for you to try. When you're finished and you have all the Sharpie marks and everything else, a little bit of the paste wax on there cleans everything right up. You don't have to, if you're wondering how that was going to come off, it's all gone. Now what we're going to do, also when you're done handling your armor, you should wax it because it gets all the oils on your hand and that's going to incline it to rust more often. So the way this is designed to fit now, we're going to put this post inside there. The strap is going to go through the back. We need some more paste wax. I have the get more Sharpie off. Sharpie be gone. So the strap goes through there, buckles in, and then it's going to be locked in place. Really, that's how it works. Now, Tim had asked that I cut those posts down in the front a little bit. He's concerned about puncturing somebody at Battle of the Nations. He's concerned that people are going to give him a hard time for kicking them and putting holes in their bodies with this little nub. So, to appease him, we're going to go ahead and cut that off and then round it. I don't want to cut off too much because this will have the possibility. You can see right now when I move it, how some of that comes out. When you're wearing this, it's gonna come out a little bit. So I'm gonna try to leave at least 3/8 of an inch coming out. And I want to do that while it's together because you'll notice that there's a gap in here. The shapes of these aren't exactly the same. So if I just had this out, measured out, 3/8 of an inch or so and cut it, I'd probably only have a little tiny bit of that sticking out, which could cause problems. So, round it up. So, we'll take this off, we'll take it over to the grinder and round that off. But in general, you can see how this is going to fit together. If your leg's in it, that shouldn't happen. If it does, it's all Tim's fault because he had me cut it. So, but this is going to be able to rock a little bit sideways and have some flex in there. And in general, that will, one of the ways they did it. Alrighty. Thank you for joining us. I hope you found this useful and informative. If you have any questions or feedback, please contact us on ursusfightclub.org on Facebook. Until next time, hope to see you on the field.